Hello everyone and welcome to Battle of the Beast Reptile Rampage episode number 11. I'm Adam and today we got the 11th battle of round 1 where we'll have one more beast fight it, well two beasts fight it out for one more spot in round 2. I butchered that intro. So far we've had 10 battles of round 1, but all varying in different greatness levels, some being incredible battles, some being good battles. I wouldn't say there's actually any bad battles, just boring matchups in which I was able to make what I would say are kind of good battles out of that. So far, so good. This matchup has two beasts which I have neutral appreciation for both of them. So when it comes down to trying to get a good battle out of them, this is probably where I'm gonna struggle, because I don't even know who's going to win this one, because you got one with the air advantage and some toxicity on his side, but another that is a straight up tank that can dish out very hard hits. And now I'm just thinking, I don't know. But let's introduce them. Representing Series 13, the Warriors Road, the only reptile in this tournament, we have Slivka, the Cold-Hearted Curse, versus her opponent, a representative of Series 19, the Kingdom of Dragons. Yes, that series is back. This is the third beast to be battling from that series in this tournament, and it is Vetrix, the Poison Dragon. So Slivka versus Vetrix. This is an interesting matchup, because whilst I'm neutral about these beasts, I can't deny this is a good one. This is going to be a good battle. I hope it will be anyway. But they each have their flaws, they each have their strengths, and depending how I can exploit their strengths and weaknesses, that's going to determine who's going to win. I know who I'd want to win, I know who probably could win, and I just don't know who should win. That's the thing. But let's find out more about these beasts and get to the stats. Slivka, the Cold-Hearted Curse. Slivka dwells in the jungle, sliding between trees and shooting from the undergrowth in a flash. This giant lizard's muscular body is covered in blue scales. His tail can smash down trees, and his wide head is crested with jutting horns. Slivka can rise up on two rear legs, slashing with his claws, or whip out his long tongue to snatch his victims and draw them towards his sharp teeth. Age 371, Power 245, Magic Cover 130, Fright Factor 90, Size 289. Powers and abilities: Natural Weaponry, being sharp claws and teeth. He uses his tongue in combat to hit his enemies and grab things, along with his horns. Natural Armor and Heat Resistance. Slivka's body is covered in armored scales, which were enough to resist the heat of magma. And Resurrection, that's banned. Weaknesses are is a bad climber. Slivka's a bad climber, so hey ho. Vetrix, the Poison Dragon. This long, sinuous, winged dragon hisses like a lizard as he stalks his prey, spraying jets of green acid from his spiked ruff, which can dissolve the flesh of his enemies in seconds. His poisonous bite turns the blood in Tom's veins icy cold. Age 307, Power 263, Magic Cover 145, Fright Factor 93, Size 263. Powers and abilities: Flight, Acid Manipulation. He can shoot acid from his gills by shaking them. Poisonous Bite. Vetrix's fangs excrete a poison which makes the infected parts of his prey's body reptilian, slowly killing them in the process. Natural Weaponry, Enhanced Strength, and Resurrection, also banned from the tournament. Weaknesses is inability to breathe underwater. Despite having gills, Vetrix cannot breathe underwater. Okay, so with the stats done, Slivka versus Vetrix, let's get into this battle. This will be done in a jungle arena, as they're both fought in jungle terrains in their books. So, yep, jungle arena it is. So as the chamber doors open, Slivka quickly rushes out of the chamber, makes his way, because Slivka's a he, towards the centre of the arena, ducking under the undergrowth, hiding, ready to attack any victims he sees. Meanwhile, Vetrix bursts through the sky exit, roars into the arena, thus getting the cheers of his adoring fans. Uh, adoring fans before he takes flight over the jungle and starts circling the area looking for his opponent. Slivka spies a rock to the right of her, in which she picks it up and with all her might chucks it towards Vetrix, which knocks Vetrix at the side of his head. Vetrix roars in aggression at this and tries to see where it's coming from, and only just sees rustling of the trees. Vetrix decides that he needs to be able to see his opponent, so shaking his skills, he causes it to rain acid all over the arena, dissolving all the trees and plant life everywhere, leaving just the dead tree bark as well as the ground and rocks, as well as some rivers, but nothing deep, just a few streams, let's say, because that's the jungle arena. As the forest wilters away, Slivka becomes more visible, but against the burnt background of, well, the arena, the ground and all that, he's still relatively kind of hard to see, but you can't miss a giant hulking lizard moving around. Slivka picks up another rock and chucks it towards Vetrix. Vetrix this time sees where it comes from, and whilst taking the hit of the rock, he dives down towards Slivka. Slivka is ready, and as they both about to collide, Slivka grabs Vetrix's horns and slams Vetrix into the ground. Vetrix gets up on his legs and snaps towards Slivka, as Slivka reels his head back before slamming his head right into Vetrix's snout. Vetrix roars in anger from that before standing up on his hind legs, hoisting Slivka off the ground, before slamming his whole body down onto the ground, slamming Slivka into the ground as well. This causes Slivka to let go of Vetrix. Vetrix then swings his tail towards Slivka, wrapping his tail around Slivka, binding his arms together. As Vetrix licks his teeth, licks his fangs, or licks his lips, ready to taste this delicious feast that is Slivka. Slivka looks down towards Vetrix's tail, looks up at the impending fate that he's facing, and bites down onto Vetrix's tail. This causes Vetrix to roar in pain, shaking his gills in anger, causing acid to start flying everywhere. Some land on Slivka, and they burn, but not a lot. Slivka realizes that's an opportunity. As Vetrix's grip on Slivka loosened, he used his strength to break free from the tail before grabbing onto Vetrix's horns and slamming and pulling his head towards Slivka's head, constantly headbutting Vetrix's head with his own, before eventually deciding to bite down onto Vetrix's mouth, well, Vetrix's snout. As Vetrix roars in pain, he unfolds his wings and takes up to the sky, trying to pull Slivka up. But not a lot, but Vetrix is able to use his front claws to grab onto Slivka and pull him away from Vetrix. Pull Slivka away from Vetrix, in which Slivka now is unable to attack Vetrix, as Vetrix just slams Slivka into the ground before making his way up to Slivka, who quickly regains herself to charge back up towards Vetrix. As Slivka goes to slam his whole body into Vetrix, Vetrix goes to bite down onto Slivka. As both beasts collide with each other, Vetrix is able to bite down onto Slivka's shoulder blade, as Slivka knocks Vetrix back, stopping Vetrix's momentum completely. Vetrix sinks his fangs deep into Slivka, as Slivka feels the poison inside of her. Knowing what the poison can do from seeing previous battles, he knows, sorry, I'm so used to calling Slivka a female. He knows that he can't turn reptilian, but he can still die from the venom. Then, using his free arm, grabs onto Vetrix's horns and slams Vetrix into the ground, pulling his arm into the ground as well. Vetrix still having a firm grip onto Slivka's arm. Slivka's trying to break free from it, but is unable to. At which point Slivka realizes that Vetrix has him trapped completely. Slivka bites down onto Vetrix's horns, grabbing onto another one. He pulls Vetrix's head away from his mouth, breaking the one horn clean off. Vetrix roars in pain at this, and immediately Slivka used that to his opportunity to get away from Vetrix. He checks out his injury, sees the bite marks and acid kind of bubbling inside of him. As Vetrix spews acid from his gills, raining down on Slivka, Slivka ignores the pain, charges right through it, jumps and wraps his arms around Vetrix's head and slams Vetrix into the ground. Vetrix wraps his tail around Slivka's neck and tries to pull Slivka away, cutting off Slivka's airflow, as Slivka's just trying to strangle Vetrix as well. As the audience stares in shock at both beasts trying to strangle each other, at this point it's just a guessing game on who's going to break first. Eventually, though, Slivka feels a jolt of pain from his poison inside his arm, thus very briefly causing him to lose his grip ever so slightly, which Vetrix uses his opportunity, uses his head to break free from the grip and bites down onto Slivka's other arm. As Slivka roars in pain over this, he bites down onto Vetrix's neck, and just starts frantically pulling away at the flesh and scales that is on Vetrix's neck. Vetrix is still tightens his grip more with his tail around Slivka's neck, pulling his head backwards. Slivka eventually loses grip on Vetrix's neck before Vetrix releases his bite grip on his arm. Vetrix is now hoisting Slivka up into the air by his neck with Vetrix's tail. Vetrix then takes up to the air with his wings, flying into the air, pulling Slivka off the ground. Slivka's airflow is now non-existent at this point. Slivka is now panicking at this point, trying to scratch away at the tail, but to no avail, as the strength inside of Vetrix's arms are now completely and utterly gone due to both of them being bitten ferociously and being infected with the poison, or the venom rather. Vetrix then lifts up his tail as high as he can above where Vetrix's head is and chucks Slivka straight into the ground, slamming him against the decrepit jungle arena. As the dust clears and all the trees are now broken from the ferocity of that slam, Vetrix lands down and stares down at where Slivka landed. As the dust clears, Slivka is just lying there, struggling to move but twitching rapidly. Vetrix decides that he's going to put Slivka out of his misery before using his claw, pins Slivka's head down, pins his body down, bites onto his neck and twists the head, breaking the neck. Slivka suddenly stops twitching and collapses to the ground there and there. Vetrix makes his way back to his chamber, satisfied with his victory over the cold-hearted curse. So with that, Vetrix has won, Slivka has lost. You think Slivka should have won? Please comment below. I think that have my words final and Vetrix moving on to the next round. Now, if I'm being honest, I would have preferred Slivka making it through, but I couldn't see a way in which Slivka can beat Vetrix. I think this was a bit of a one-sided one to the fact that Vetrix had the height advantage, but also the giant size advantage. And while Slivka had the muscle, once that was taken away from him, there was nothing Slivka could have done. And for that, Vetrix is the 11th beast moving on to round 2. Join me in the next battle where we'll have another beast, another 2 beasts fight out for a spot in round 2. With this one, I'm looking at the matchup now. seeming a little bit one-sided, but can there be a good fight out of this one? Only time will tell. But until then, peace out.